Welcome to Lawgic Basic Training. The screen we're currently looking at is the Select Title File screen. This is the box that will come up each time you open the Lawgic software. This is also the box that you will come back to as you close one file and open another. As you can see, all of our titles are listed here. When you open your program, only your specific title that you've subscribed to will be shown. For today, we'll use Lawgic Wills Trust as the example for our training, and come down here and look at our options for going forward. You have the New button, which will open a new file with no information in it. You have the Files option, which will take you to a list of all of the files that you have created and saved. And then the Templates option. This allows you to use pre-created answer files to shorten the process of answering questions. Templates will be covered in a future video. For today, we're going to go ahead and click on the Files button and open a training file. Once you click on Files, Lawgic will open for you the Answer File box. Here we have the Open Answer File box with a list of all of the files that I have created under the Florida title. For today, I'm going to go ahead and choose the file that I want to open and work on. I do this by single-clicking on the file and then clicking OK. The same will hold true for whenever you're working with a specific client file. Once I click OK, the software opens into its title page, and as you can see, we have a three-part screen here. When you first open your software on any given day, you'll have two buttons available to you in the upper right-hand screen, which are the Start and the Previous button. Once we click Start to begin the process the first time in any given day, it will change to the Continue button, and this will be the button that you use to proceed through and answer questions in your file. The Previous button will take you back through your answers in the order that you answered them. Looking at our screen now, we have an option to select an activity and a list of all of the various things that we can choose to do moving forward. If I come down and I click on Question Help, and I know that there is something available at this tab for me to read because it has an orange check mark, I see that this tool gives me further information about what types of documents I can create underneath each of these options up above. My recommendation is always that you open the Question Help tab whenever it's available, as it gives you detailed information as to why a question is being asked, what your other options will be, and what the path will be that you go down based on how you answer the question. For today, we're going to go ahead and choose Trust and click Continue to move forward. This is the basis of how you use the program. You simply read your question, use your resources down below to support your decision making, and then come here and answer the question. In this case, we'll stay with a revocable trust, and I'll do a joint trust as I see here. Look down at my Question Help and review what's there, and then click Continue. This takes us forward to a question asking if we'd like to include article reviews. I strongly recommend that you say yes to this option for the first few months that you're using the program. What it does is at the end of each of the sections that we see over here in the Navigator, it shows you a review screen of all of the language that you drafted in that section. In this way, you're able to proofread your document as you go, and therefore have even less editing to do when you get to your word processor. So I will take my own advice, choose yes, and click Continue. As you can see, this has jumped us forward to the marital gift. The reason for that is that this is a partially completed answer file, and we've already answered the questions on the client and the children and the references and so forth. When you're drafting a file from scratch yourself, of course, you will go through each of the sections that is necessary in order to put in your client's specific information. Coming back over to the right-hand side, I see again the question number is here, the type of question or title of the question is here, and then the full question is given to me here with the options for me to choose from in terms of the answers. If I come down to Question Help, I see that it's giving me additional information on the path I will follow based on each one of the choices up above. I also see that Law and Strategy is available here, so I always will click on any tab with an orange check mark to review the supported information given to me here. In this case, we're seeing Florida-specific law. That is the purpose of the Law and Strategy tab. It is there to give you a concise summary of the law on the topic of your question. Each of these tabs updates itself as you move forward from question to question. So rather than you having to go outside of the program for support and information, it's available to you at each question in a succinct format that gives you exactly the type of help you need as you need it. I will go ahead and retain the default answer here of tax formula and click Continue to move forward. At this question, there is no question help, but there is Law and Strategy, which at this question is quite extensive. At any time, if you would prefer to copy and paste this into another document, you may simply right-click in any of these tabs and select all, and right-click and copy, and then go and paste the information here in an email to us if you have a question, or into a Word document if you'd like to have it to print out and review at your leisure at a later time. Additionally, at this question, we have the Progress tab available to us, so let's click on that. In opening Progress, we see the exact language that is going to go into our document depending on which answer we choose up above. At the moment, Progress is showing us the pre-residuary gift language. If I want to see the fractional share language, I would simply change the answer, and instantly the Progress tab will update itself to show us that language. Don't worry about these carets and ampersands here. They're simply placeholders for our future numbering system. I'm going to go ahead and return to the pre-residuary gift language and click Continue. At this question, Balance of Estate, it's asking where we want to allocate the non-marital share of the trust estate. Again here, these answers are dependent upon how you answered the previous question. As we go forward answering questions and clicking Continue, the Continue button performs a unique function. Each time you select an answer and click Continue, Lawgic moves forward and suppresses questions that are no longer relevant based on how you answered the question. What this means to you is that as you move forward answering questions, the scope of your questions is narrowing and becoming more and more specific, so that in any given document creation process, you answer the minimal amount of questions needed to create the end document that you're seeking. In order to maintain this process, it's very important during the drafting process to only use the Continue button to move forward, as it is the Continue button that has the function of suppression. If you were to move forward using the navigator, you would pull yourself out of that question suppression feature and end up answering additional questions. So when you are drafting a new file, please remember to choose your answer and use only the Continue button to move forward. At this question, I will go ahead and look at my question help, then look at my Law and Strategy, and then check my progress. Having done that, I'd like to show you another feature in the program called the Notes tab. The Notes tab is a feature that's available at each and every question, and it is essentially your sticky note at every question. You are able to leave yourself notes within this tab at any given time. These notes will remain with that client file and will not leave that file unless you go back and delete them. Once I've left my note, I can go ahead and click Continue. If I look left at the navigator now, I see that the Balance of Estate question has a green color instead of a black. That signifies to you that there is a note at that question. If you'd like to be reminded that that note is there, we can click Previous to go back to that question and click the little finger with the string. This marks the question as tentatively answered, and at the end of the Q&A session, will pop up a reminder box to let you know that you have tentative answers at certain questions and ask if you'd like to come back and review them. Now that we've marked it tentative, we'll simply click Continue, and we're back at the marital gift outright or in trust question. I'm going to go ahead now and click Law and Strategy, review the Law and Strategy at this question, and click the Progress tab to ensure that this language is what I want in my final document. At this time, let's go over to the navigator and talk a little bit more about what's going on over here. If I look now at the balance of estate question, I see that not only is it green, but it's italicized. The italicization is what indicates to me that there is a tentative on that question. So the navigator is giving you a visual indication of what's going on with the trust or the will or whatever document that you're drafting right now. If I look above the highlighted question, which corresponds to the question I'm addressing in the upper right-hand portion of the screen, I see that there are orange check marks, black check marks, there's some closed sections, and then I see at the very top orange check marks and blue check marks as well. What do those marks signify and how do they affect you? When you're drafting within Lawgic, at any given point in time, you may go back to the navigator, and any question that contains an orange check mark, you can go back to that question by simply clicking on it in the navigator. Prior to clicking on anything in the navigator, though, keep in mind that in your question on the right-hand side, there is a default answer, in this case, the Q-tip trust. If you navigate away from this question by clicking on something in the navigator, the software will accept this default answer, and when you click continue, it will bypass the question. So prior to going back to change answers, always choose the appropriate answer at the question you are currently addressing, and then go to your navigator and click on any item with an orange check mark to go back to that question. Orange check marks signify questions that are active in your current session. Black check marks are significant of questions that have been answered or addressed in previous sessions and are not relevant to your current activity. Thus, to stay on track, we only click on items with an orange check mark. We've come back to a question in the references section asking whether we prefer first or third person. At this current moment, first person is the answer that has been selected. If you'd like to change your answer to the third person, you simply change the answer, and when you click continue, Lawgic will take you to the next relevant unanswered question. Should the change that you've made affect any other part of the question session that you've already addressed, Lawgic will take that into account and take you to address any other questions that now need to be answered. I'm going to go ahead and leave it on third person for the purpose of our current session and click continue. As you can see, this has jumped us now down past all the work we've already done to the next relevant unanswered question. Here the question is asking about the minimum marital gift, and again, we check all of our available tabs in order to make the correct decision here. At this juncture, I'd like to show you a different tool. The navigator here has several collapsed sections, which you are able to open by simply manually clicking on the plus signs. However, if you would like to take a look at the entire navigator, as well as the answers you've given in the program already, you may simply right-click in the navigator, where you'll now get a pop-up box. This pop-up box gives you the option to continue, review, go previous, go back to your first question, and in this case what we're interested in is having it expand all, which means expand all of these plus signs. So I'm going to go ahead and choose expand all so that it opens up the navigator fully. As you can see, it's quite comprehensive. In the right-hand side again, in the left-hand side, again, in the navigator, right-click your mouse, and again, we're going to go down through our pop-up box, only this time we're going to say, please show me the answers. And it opens up another column for you, which is showing you the answers that you have given during your work with this particular file. And in this case, we see all of the answers to all of the questions. In this way, you can, at any time, open up a client file and review the work you've already done, not by reading the document, by simply reviewing through the question and answer windows. Once you've completed your review and you're ready to go back to work in your current session, generally you'll want to right-click and close or hide your answer column, and then come back to the navigator. As you can see, you can adjust the size of these windows at any time by clicking on the bar and dragging them to the size you prefer. At this juncture, we have the navigator fully open. It's generally easier to work with it in its collapsed state, so I will right-click in a white space again and ask it to collapse all. This then collapses all of the sections except for the section I'm currently working in. And now I'm able to go forward and continue with my question and answer session. I'll click on Question Help here and on Progress. I'm going to go up above and I'm going to stay with the answer here of no and click Continue. This takes us down to a question asking us if we'd like to add a custom provision to the administration after either grantor's death article. We want to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click Yes. Then I'm going to put in my section heading. And then click down where it asks for the text. Although you only see a single line here, this box will actually enlarge itself to take any amount of text that you would like to put in here. You may either hand type your text in, or you may go to another document, open that document, copy the language that you'd like to put into this location here, and paste it in. The benefit of putting your custom language here in Lawgic is that when the text is all sent over to the word processor for you, Lawgic will automatically format that text to be consistent with the rest of the document. This is again another editing time-saving feature, and I would encourage you whenever you are looking to add custom text within any portion of your document that you do it within these custom provisions. If I go up and open the search tool, I then get a search box open. This is a very handy feature within the program. It lets you find questions quickly and easily. And at this time, I'd like to see all of the questions that allow me to add custom language. So I'm going to choose Add Custom. And then for my search type, I'm looking for questions. So I would choose Navigator. But as you can see, you can choose any of these items here to search almost universally throughout the program and get a nice concise list based on what you choose to put up here in the find line. I'm going to leave it at Add Custom and click Search, and now I get up a very extensive list of areas within the program that you can add your custom provisions. At the end of creating a will or a trust, you will be given the opportunity to add as many custom provisions as you would like. So as you can see, there's no reason not to put all of your custom language within the Lawgic program so that you don't have to worry about doing any formatting when it goes to Word or WordPerfect. A word of caution on using the search tool. At any given time, you can search all of the program. All right, so the navigator is always going to open up all of the questions that are related to your search parameter, in this case, Add Custom. But remember, you only want to go forward through your Q&A session using the Continue button. All right, so if a reference to a question down here is number 851 and you're only on 366, don't click on the item here because you're going to want to get to it by using the Continue button. Anything lower than the question 366, if you'd like to go to that, you may do so by simply clicking on that question and it will jump you back to that particular item. So at this juncture, if you had missed the opportunity to add your custom language in the reserved rights section, you could simply click Yes here. Again, type in a custom title, okay? And then go ahead and put your text here. And make sure you put punctuation at the end. Now, when I go ahead and click Continue, Lawgic jumps me to the next relevant unanswered question, and in this case, to a location that we've actually touched upon in our earlier discussions. This is your review screen. I'm sure you remember that back in the beginning, we chose to say yes to being shown a review screen at the end of each section. And this is the review screen for the distributions after death section. So within this question and answer session, we have created the language that we see down here. If I scroll to the bottom, you can see the custom heading we added in the previous question that asked us if we wanted to add a custom provision. This is an extremely useful tool for you to be able to go through and review the work that you've done in this section to ensure that it's what you want for your end document. By reviewing it at the end of every section, you're able to easily spot things that are not the way that you particularly care for them to be, and go back just through these questions to find the item that you need to go to make your change. Easily then you can go and make a change to your answer, and only in this circumstance can you use the navigator to then go to the distributions after death review section. Also, if you preferred then to go back and review all of the questions you've answered in this section below this particular question, you may also go over and click the down arrow to the right of the Continue button. This gives you the option to change to the review mode. The review mode then takes you out of the Continue function, which only will take you to the next relevant unanswered question, and it will now take you through each of the questions that were relevant and that you answered in this section. By clicking the review, you then come again to the review screen for the distributions after death, and then can see the change that was made to the language based on the change that you made back here. At this point, you would want to change back to the Continue mode to continue moving forward through the questions that are relevant in order for you to complete your current document. At this juncture, we're happy with what we have in the Distributions After Death section. Let's go ahead and click Continue. This takes us to a question on the payment of estate taxes. Again, we're going to look at our progress and our law and strategy and review through those items and remain with the marginal rate as our option. Should we need to go back and change an answer, again, we would simply go back to the section that we wanted to change an answer to, expand that section, click on any item with an orange check mark, change our answer. In this case, I'll prefer to leave it on the Internal Revenue Code, and click Continue. And it now brings us to a tentative answers box. This is the cue to you that you have answered all of the questions in the program that are relevant, and that the software is ready to send your document to the word processor. But before it does that, it has brought you to the tentative answers box because when we were at the balance of estate question, we clicked on the finger with the string, or the little hand with the string on it, and marked a question tentative. This box is now reminding us that we had a tentative answer during our question and answer session, and it's asking us if we would like to go back and review those answers, would we like to remove the tentative status, or do we want to ignore the tentative status and continue on? If you'd like to leave that tentative status in your file for the next time that you open it to serve as a reminder to go back and look at that question, you would choose Ignore. If you're satisfied with your answer and know that you no longer need to go back, you can go ahead and remove the tentative status. If you would prefer to remove your note prior to going ahead and removing the tentative status, you would click Review. It would take you back to that question. You could delete your note, and when you clicked Continue, it would take you forward to the next box we're going to see, which is the All Questions Answered box. I'll go ahead and ignore the tentative status for now and leave our reminder there for us for later. At that juncture, we come to the All Questions Answered box. This box gives us three options as well. The All Questions Answered box only comes up when you have completed the answer session. At this point, we can send the document to the word processor. We can return to the title page, which you see has already come up behind us. If you were going through and creating documents but were not prepared to send them to the word processor yet, you could simply click Return to Title, and then in order to move forward and create the next document, you would use your Continue button and go forward and make your new choices to create the next document. You also have an option to close this answer file and close out of the software if you have another appointment, should you need to go to court, or whatever the case might be. For our purposes, we're going to go ahead and say send documents to word processor. This will then open up Microsoft Word or WordPerfect, and as you can see, I can move this box if you want to see something behind it, and ask us then to go forward and continue with our document in Microsoft Word and do the final editing there. We're now in our final document. In this case, we're in Microsoft Word, and in this case, it is also Word 2010. I see when the document opens that I have a security warning up here. This warning comes up occasionally. Should you get it in 2010, you simply need to click Enable Content. If Enable Content is not an option for you, generally there is a command that allows you to trust all content from this publisher by clicking on the options. If you run into problems with this, please contact us and ask for customer support, Mark Willard, and he'll be happy to walk you through taking care of that issue. We are now in Microsoft Word. At this juncture, we are fully severed from the Lawgic software. For that reason, any changes that you make to the document here will not reflect back in your Lawgic file. This is important to you because it makes a difference in whether you choose to go ahead and edit within this document now, or if upon reading through it you see that there are substantive issues that you need to go back and change, you would simply close this document without saving it, go back to Lawgic, change your answers, and regenerate a new Word document so that you would not need to do additional editing. At this juncture, we want to go ahead and take a look at this command right here, which asks us to, on the Edit menu, click Select All, or to press Control-A, and then the F9 key to complete the formatting of this document. This is an extremely important command and one that you will want to remember because you will be reusing it over and over again throughout the editing process. I'm going to go ahead and do Control-A, which selects the entire document. What I'm doing here is telling Word, I want you to apply the following command to the entire document. Anytime you make edits to the software, you're going to rerun this Control-A F9 command. Now that I've done Control-A, I'm going to go to the top of my keyboard where I find the function keys. I'm going to look for the function key that says F9. If upon pressing and now I'm going to go ahead and press the F9 key. If upon pressing the F9 key, it does not delete the command that was at the top and leave you with the document formatted in this fashion you see in front of you, I'm going to go ahead and edit undo and go back to where it was. If F9 does not work for you here, possibly because the key has been repurposed on your computer, especially in laptops this can be the case, you simply need to right-click in any highlighted area. You'll get a pop-up box, and then you can go up and click on Update Fields, and that will then complete the command for you. We now see the trust in front of us and are free to edit in any way we choose to complete the document for our client. I'm going to go ahead and page down and come to the synopsis. The synopsis is a plain English review of each of the articles within the document. The synopsis is an option within Lawgic that you will answer within your question and answer session as to whether or not you care to include it in this file. When I pass the synopsis, I come to the table of contents. When I come to the table of contents, if I click in the middle of it, it highlights itself. This is normal and anticipated because what it's indicating to you here is that the table of contents is hypertext linked to the rest of the document. This makes it very simple for us to go to a desired area of the trust without having to page down through it. If I'd like to go to the distribution of income, I simply take my mouse over to the right and hover it over the page that I'd like to go to. A little pop-up says Control plus click to follow link. So I'm going to hold down my Control key and click on the page number, and it jumps me right to that section of the trust that I wanted to go to. This is a very handy tool for you as you go through and edit so that you can go back and make sure that your updates have been shown in the table of contents and then jump right back to where you were and continue your editing. And we're going to see that in just a moment here. As I scroll down and I look, I realize that I'd like to include a new paragraph between 6.4 and 6.5, but I don't want to go back to Lawgic because it's not something that I can do there, or because everything else in the document is correct and this is a simple edit that you need to make. In that case, there are a few rules about adding new items within these documents that will ensure you're able to update your table of contents as well as your cross-references and your page numbers. Rather than simply clicking enter and starting to type to put in my new item, I'm going to find a location in the document that shows me the formatting that I want for my new custom item. I'll scroll down, and here I see that 7.1 has a subparagraph A, which is exactly what I want for my new item. So I'm going to go to the end of the item I want to copy and highlight up to the beginning. Depending on your version of Word, different people find success with different methods of highlighting, and that's fine. You'll simply want to make sure that you highlight the entire item you want to copy, and then I right-click and choose Copy, but you may do Edit Copy if you prefer. Now I'm going to go up, and I'm going to click at the end of the item that I want to insert my new custom item after, and hit Return on my keyboard. Now I'm going to do Control-V, or you may do Edit Paste, whichever works best for you. And then I'm going to backspace to get rid of my extra paragraph return. And I see that the Word has already renumbered the paragraph for me. It's inserted what I copied, and I have my subparagraph A, and my formatting is 100% consistent with the rest of the document. This is very important within Word, as if your formatting is inconsistent between your paragraphs, the auto update feature will not pick up your new item and include it in the table of contents. Because we've copied and pasted in something that has the correct formatting, we now simply need to overwrite it with our custom item language, and it will then be included within our table of contents when we update it. You're only going to want to replace one type of formatting at a time, and when you do the replacement, you want to leave your final punctuation mark out of the replacement highlight, as it is attached to formatting and will then buffer you from killing your formatting when you replace this item. To show you what happens when you overwrite the punctuation, I'll go ahead and highlight it. And when I go to type in my new title, I lose my formatting for my paragraph. A simple edit undo will take care of that. And then I can simply scale back my highlighting to just the text that I want to replace. I will name this new title. And then I'm going to go ahead and replace the language the same way. Again, not including my final punctuation mark. Overwrite it with my new text. Then I'm going to go down and do the same for the subparagraph A. And so on. And we would replace the text here the same way. Now, although it has renumbered this item for you right in front of you, it has not updated the table of contents nor any page numbers or cross-references that may have been affected. And this is where we come back to the Control-A F9 command. I am now going to do a Control-A and F9, and I get a pop-up box here, which is asking if I want to update the table of contents. The answer to that question is always going to be yes. I want to update the entire table, and click OK. You're then going to go back and be in a highlighted document. You're going to click outside of the highlighting, and I always like to go back to the table of contents and check to make sure that it updated. So I'm just going to use the elevator box to go back to the table of contents to 6.5. And here I see it indeed did pick up the new title. So to go back to where I was to continue my editing, I just do Control-click and click the page number, and I am back to that location in my Word document. In editing within your documents, once you've decided to go ahead and retain a particular version of the Word document, you will need to do a file save as. It's very important that you don't do this before you've run your initial Control-A F9 command. Every time you run the Control-A F9 command and complete the updating of your document, it's a good idea to go ahead and do a file save. Although your initial saving will be a file save as, because we give the document a default name in order to open it in Word, as you continue forward editing and then doing Control-A F9, you're simply going to do a file save. The reason for doing this is that if as you continue editing, for some reason you lose your formatting, you will have only lost the formatting on that particular item, and if you're not able to get it back, you can do a file close and simply redo that last edit. If you don't save as you go and something happens, obviously you'll have more edits to redo, and that's to be avoided if at all possible. If you need to remove something from a particular section, you simply highlight it and backspace over it, and you'll see that the program will then auto-update your numbering system for you. When you're deleting, you're going to again do a Control-A and F9 and update the entire table, and then again you would do a file save. It's my preference to do a file save after every edit, again for the reasons previously stated. If you'd like to add in a new article, simply highlight what you'd like to add in and copy, and then go to where you'd like to put it in and paste it. I'm going to go ahead and do that right here by clicking my mouse at the end of the last paragraph, hitting enter, and doing an edit paste or Control-V. I'm going to do a backspace to get rid of my extra paragraph return, and then I'm going to change this title here. Now that I've done that, I would come down here and adjust the text and the headings here as necessary to complete adding your custom language in. And then again, run Control-A and F9. Now we've placed a new article in, and this cross-reference here still says Article 11. Let's see what happens when we do Control-A and push the F9 key and say Update Entire Table and click OK. As you can see, it has automatically updated your cross-reference for you. The benefits of having this automation far outweigh the additional keystrokes required to do a Control-A, F9, and update entire table after your edits, and simply remember to only save after you've run that command. We're now at the conclusion of our training session. Thank you very much for your time and your attention, and especially for your subscription to Lawgic. We look forward to working with you for many years to come.